Hey guys, welcome back to the WODdoc Project 365, episode 729, one day away from our 2-year anniversary. Today, what we're doing is picking up on yesterday's bottoms up challenge. Now, what I asked you guys to do was go ahead, take a kettlebell into the bottoms up position, rack it on up, right? We're gonna press it up over our head. We want to drop our shoulder away from our ear and hold that position for 1 minute. If we were able to achieve that, we're gonna switch over to the opposite hand, okay? But what happens if you had trouble on that? What happens if it was difficult? Well, we're gonna talk about ways in which we can go about regressing that movement to a point where that doesn't aggravate us, but yet still be able to build shoulder integrity. Now, the two things that we want to be able to do is build into flexion, but of course we're not going to be doing it this way. We're going to be laying on our back, and then we're also going to build into 90 degrees of abduction. So 90 degrees of flexion, 90 degrees of abduction. And we're going to work here with Kirsten. I said that right? It's hard for me. I'm like, Kirsten, I want to say Kristen all the time. So we're working here with Kirsten. She's gonna run through this with us. And what you're gonna notice, first of all, is she has a really small kettlebell, right? But that's absolutely okay, because even though we have this little tiny kettlebell, you see how hard her arm has to work, and that's exactly what we don't need to have a big, huge kettlebell here, guys. That's a huge point to make. We want enough that makes you work, not enough that makes you fail, okay? That's a big thing here. So what's gonna happen with her here, this is the first position that we're working on. 90 degrees of shoulder flexion. The hand is gonna be in a nice neutral position. The wrist is in a nice neutral position. We're looking at trying to get and accumulate a 30-second hold in this position. Shoulders are stacked on top of the elbow, which is stacked on top of the wrist, right? And the shoulder itself is pressed away from the ground just a little bit. She's in a protracted, or what they call, like we use a push-up plus type term, right? From right there, we want to get into that abducted position. So we're gonna have to rotate the arm. Of course, we can't do that since we're working on the bottoms up position, so we have to rotate the body. And we want to make sure that we keep the body in a nice neutral position. So I'm gonna ask Kirsten to bring her knees up and her heels up towards her butt, and she's gonna pretend that this shoulder and this hip is connected, right, like by a rod. So as she rotates around, her shoulders and hips rotate together. Now this is where this gets a little tricky, because this is a tougher position for her, okay? So what happens, she has to work really hard to find that position of balance. It's a good idea to have a partner right here in case she gets too wobbly. You want to have this fall down and get hurt. You can see she has to just find that balance, find all those stabilizer muscles. And this is a really good position for her to work in. And it's also a good position that is non-intrusive, because we're not above 90 degrees. So due to the anatomy of the shoulder, it's just a little bit easier on her, okay? You can go ahead, rotate back down and come down, and then relax from right there. So what we're trying to do with these two positions, all right, is try to accumulate 30 seconds and then into the flex position, which is right here, and then 30 seconds into the abducted position. 2 rounds of that. That'd be a great warm-up for us on our shoulder days. And if we do this with any bit of consistency, say 2 to 3 times per week, and retest in about 4 weeks, I bet you do a lot better in that overhead position. Cool? Kirsten, thank you so much. Guys, until tomorrow, we are optimizing function to optimize performance.